Welcome to this video. My name is Konstantin. I'm providing market analysis to be in crypto for over 5 years, and today we're gonna take a look at Zcash. If you're in the crypto space, you probably heard about Zcash. It's really one of the OG cryptocurrencies, and its main focus is around privacy. Now, recently, Zcash has been on a parabolic ride, and we want to take a look on where Zcash could be heading and what's actually driving this insane surge in price. So first of all, we want to take a look at CoinGecko, where we can take a look at the current market cap and the overall trend. We can see that Zcash has been basically resurrected from the dead. It had its runs in 2017-18 and then in 2021 and then again 21 later on and then a little run in 2022. But this current run is absolutely insane, and we can see it has over $1 billion USD trading volume in the last 24 hours, actually almost 2 billion. Now, we're going to take a look at the technical chart, and we're also going to talk about where Zcash could be heading in general. So when we have a parabolic ride like this, it is always really difficult to determine where it could be heading, especially if the all-time high is already surpassed. Now, if we look at Kraken, we can see that on this exchange, Zcash has been traded in 2016 for 30,000 USD. Since then, it really has experienced this insane downtrend for over almost 10 years now. So basically, Zcash has been trending down in a decade. Now, most recently, since October, so last month, Zcash has started this insane rise. Now, first of all, what we can see is that Zcash has surpassed its last highs, has broken all the resistances here, and also has broken the golden ratio resistance. There were some initial struggles that we can see, so we definitely see it here on the daily chart. Now, Zcash has initially been rejected at the resistance zone at roughly 300 USD. It corrected down to the FIB support level where it heavily bounced off bullishly. Since then, it has created a higher high, but faced rejection once again at the resistance, but then didn't even go back to the FIB support level. Instead, bounced off earlier at the previous resistance zone, roughly 2020 to 2245. Since then, Zcash has seen this insane surge, once again doubling in price. So it's been basically more than 10x from its last recent low in, I would say, September. So early September, it traded below 40 USD. It started a little bit of a run towards the 50 USD mark and then went completely parabolic at the end of September. Now, since then, it's basically 10x. And still a lot of people are screaming for even more upside. And now we're going to take a look at what's happening in the crypto world. So one very prominent figure, Arthur Hayes, has been very vocal about Zcash recently. He's actually saying Zcash is going to hit 10K USD. And we want to take a look if this is even possible. Because when people are screaming for prices and they're saying this coin is going to reach this price, there is always a ceiling. The ceiling lies in the market cap. So if we take a look at Zcash, we can see currently it ranks at 26. So it has the 26th highest market cap of all the cryptocurrencies listed on CoinGecko. Currently has a market cap of 8 billion USD. And if we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has a market cap of 2 trillion USD. Ethereum has only a quarter of that, 400 billion, whereas Tether has 180 billion and Ripple has 140. Now, if we take a look at Zcash, it's down here. So if we imply another 10x from here, that would put the price to 5,200 USD, and that would put the market cap to 80 billion USD. With 80 billion USD, it would be ranked the 7th highest coin in market cap, basically right behind Solana, in front of USDC. Now, quite frankly, it is not impossible that Zcash rises to Solana's market cap. Is it likely? We don't know, but it is technically possible. Could Zcash even reach double that? Yes, it could. It would place it above Ripple's market cap and right behind Tether. Technically, Zcash could even rise to the 3rd position behind Ethereum and Bitcoin. Where it becomes really, really unlikely is that Zcash surpasses Ethereum or Bitcoin, because both of them are massively prominent, and also Ethereum has this huge network and so many coins are based on the Ethereum ERC20 network. So yeah, a 10x from here is technically possible. Even a 20x is technically possible. And to understand if it's likely or not, I mean, none of us can really predict that. But what we can say is there is this whole narrative about privacy coins in general, because if we look at the crypto space, there are several utilities that you can think of. But one of the most discussed features of Bitcoin, and what gives it basically its inherent value, is that it's often described as digital gold. So it's basically mainly used to be a hedge against the regular financial system based on fiat currency, which is heavily inflated by just printing money all the time. And with Ethereum, we have the smart contracts. Now, other than that, privacy has always been a main concern and a main driver of the whole crypto space. So yeah, we could definitely argue that privacy coins do have a really strong future in the crypto space, especially if we look at current developments that we've seen in Europe and other Western countries, where the privacy of the citizens has been heavily restricted, and the trend could actually continue. So with the governments expanding surveillance powers and there is a push for a digital identity, we could definitely say that more wealthy individuals might head towards more privacy. So there is definitely a narrative that we could entertain for Zcash to heavily succeed. And I think this video is heavily relevant right now, because if Zcash is actually performing another 10x or 20x, it could change lives. Now, I always want to present a balanced view, and as we already discussed the bullish scenario, I also want to talk about the bearish scenario. First of all, if we take a look at Zcash's price development versus Bitcoin, yes, this is a massive uptrend right now, but if we look at the bigger picture, we can see there's a lot of room for growth. It is actually pretty insane, if you ask me. Now, going back to the recent chart, we have to point out a few things. So Tether has been removed from many exchanges, especially in the EU. A lot of exchanges don't list Zcash. Several banks don't list it, like Revolut. And initially, Zcash wasn't even traded versus the new stablecoin USDC on Binance, but it has been traded against Bitcoin. So we want to take a look also on the Bitcoin chart to estimate some potential resistances that are still laying ahead of Zcash. So first of all, we could definitely connect the high with the low to see that Zcash is about to encounter significant golden ratio resistance, where it could definitely lose a little bit bullish momentum to go for a correction. So with that, if we assume Zcash is gonna hit resistance and correct, it could potentially correct towards the FIB support levels at 0.00355 or 0.00225 roughly. That would imply downside potential of roughly 37% or up to 63%. Do I believe that Zcash is gonna correct towards the golden ratio with this insane bullish setup right now? I don't believe so. But I could see Zcash correcting towards the 0.382 FIB level, correcting roughly 40%. If it breaks this golden ratio resistance, it could head towards the 50-month EMA resistance that implies upside from here of 55%. And that is located at 0.00808 Bitcoin. Now, do I believe Zcash is heading to the old highs versus Bitcoin? No, I certainly don't believe that. But we also have to take into consideration that Bitcoin is currently in a correction phase. And if Bitcoin is correcting further while the Zcash price in USD is surging, it even creates a bigger gap between Zcash rising versus Bitcoin. As Bitcoin is going down and Zcash is going up versus dollar, the value in Bitcoin rises even higher. So yeah, there is a lot of room for potential. There is a lot of potential for future growth or for actually immediate growth. But also when a coin goes parabolic like this, you have high potential of sudden drops, 40 to 60%. So it is definitely a high risk, high reward play right now. And if we look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, we can see that the market is definitely entering a very uncertain territory or potentially even a downtrend. Now, last but not least, I want to point out one more thing, and that is, first of all, there was a fork of Zcash in 2019. You can read about that here in the Zcash community, and that is Ycash. Now, the reason I bring it up is because it's currently sitting at a market cap of 11 million. So if we really assume that Zcash goes crazy popular, people might look at the fork of Zcash, YC, and potentially buy it off these exchanges. I don't know these exchanges. I really don't know. I would be very careful with using them because, yeah, I really have never used them and I've never heard or seen them. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the technology and the architecture of Zcash. So I went to ChatGPT to give me a short summary of the recent updates. And basically what I can tell you is that Zcash uses ZK Snark to allow shielded transaction. That means the network verifies the proof rather than revealing sender, recipient, or amount. Now, a lot of people in the space argue that Zcash has an even better privacy technology than Monero or all the other competitors. There are major privacy coins, and Zcash has actually recently surpassed Monero's market cap, which currently sits at 6.6 billion, placing at rank 33. Now, Zcash still uses a proof of work consensus model and is also capped at 21 million coins, exactly like Bitcoin. Now, another thing that I want to point out is that Zcash could potentially be anti-fragile. For those of you who read the book Anti-Fragility from Nassim Taleb, I want to give you a brief overview of the concept. Now, in general, you could separate a system between fragile, which means it breaks under stress, robust, which means it doesn't break under stress, and anti-fragile, which means it actually thrives in chaos. Now, recently, when I look at the market, I saw that the market is crashing and Zcash is rising. This could be a simple negative correlation, but where the uncertainty in the market rises, Zcash price is also rising. Even in the latest flash crash, Zcash was not really affected as much, and recently the market is heading down and Zcash is continuing its parabolic rise. Now, globally, you could say Zcash, because it's built for privacy, thrives when surveillance and data exposure rises. Moreover, it's decentralized and open source, which adds to the point that Zcash might be anti-fragile. I wish Nassim Taleb would sit right here to give his comment. Maybe he would say, no, it's definitely not anti-fragile, but I just wanted to give that to you, and maybe you have your own idea of it. Now, to summarize this video, Zcash has been parabolic and has technically more room to grow. Also, we can definitely see a trend in decreasing privacy for Western countries due to new regulations and their governance, whereas privacy could be a more important matter for the ultra wealthy. Because if you really think about it, if you have hundreds of millions, what do you really care about? Because you already have all the materialistic needs met. So what you really care about is to stay safe and to be protected and to be not as transparent as the government wants you to be. Now, also, I want to point out the last situation I witnessed that really reminds me of this is when Sam Bankman-Fried shilled Solana heavily on Twitter. He was so bullish on Solana, and during this time frame, Solana went from 1 USD to over 260 USD. I'm not saying this is the exact same situation. It just really reminds me of this because Afro Highs has been a really, really prominent and also controversial figure in the crypto space. And he is as bullish about Zcash as SBF has been bullish about Solana back then. Now, both of them also have in common that they were running crypto exchanges and faced allegations, which brought them legal trouble. Well, that was the video for today. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. And if you have any questions, please ask them in the comment sections. Also, I really want to know your opinion about this whole Zcash situation. And what do you think? Is privacy a more important concern in today's world? Or do you think, no, that doesn't matter at all? My name is Konstantin. I really enjoyed being your host in this video. And if you don't want to miss the next video, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. See you next time.